Imagine a realm suspended between eternal light and endless shadow, a place of profound silence broken only by the whispers of prayer and the sighs of longing. This is a place we speak of often in faith but rarely dare to visualize, a place known as Purgatory. We are taught that prayer is our direct line to God. It is our shield, our comfort, and our path to salvation. Many of us build our entire lives around this sacred practice. We attend Mass, we recite the Rosary, we whisper our intentions before we sleep, trusting that these acts of devotion are paving our way to heaven. But what if I told you that for some souls, a lifetime of prayer was not the final step? What if, even for the devout, there is another journey to be made after this life? A purification that many of us assume our piety allows us to bypass. This is not a theory or a forgotten piece of doctrine. This is the eyewitness testimony of a saint. In the heart of the 20th century, a humble Polish nun was given a key. Her name was Sister Maria Faustina Kowalska, now known to the world as Saint Faustina, the Apostle of Divine Mercy. Through her famous diary, a document that reads like a direct conversation with heaven, she was shown things hidden from mortal eyes. She walked through the veils of reality and saw the afterlife not as we imagine it, but as it truly is. And what she saw will challenge everything you thought you knew about the journey of the soul. Today, we pull back the curtain on one of her most startling revelations, the truth about souls who prayed daily, who were faithful, who loved God, and yet found themselves in purgatory. We will not only uncover that they are there, but the specific, heartbreaking reasons why, according to what was revealed to this incredible saint. This is the knowledge that can change not only how you see the afterlife, but how you live your life, starting today. Before we delve into the reasons these praying souls are detained, we must first understand what purgatory truly is, through Saint Faustina's eyes. Forget the terrifying images of medieval art for a moment. What Faustina saw was far more profound and, in a way, more unsettling because of its deep spiritual reality. In entry 20 of her diary, she writes about being led by her guardian angel to what she called the chasms of purgatory. She describes it as a great misty place, filled with a fire that was different from any earthly flame. It was a purely spiritual fire, she wrote, lit by God's anger. But this is not the anger of a vengeful judge. It is the white-hot fire of perfect, absolute love. Imagine standing before a love so pure, so total, that any part of you that is not pure love is instantly illuminated. Every selfish act, every moment of vanity, every word spoken in haste, every failure to love our neighbor as ourselves, it all becomes visible, a stain on the soul that cannot endure the presence of God. The suffering of these souls, Faustina saw, was twofold. Their greatest torment was their intense longing for God. They have seen His beauty, they have felt His love, and now they are separated from it. This yearning is an agony beyond any physical pain. It is the ache of a soul that knows its true home, but cannot yet enter. The second suffering is the specific purification for their earthly failings. Each soul, she noted, suffers differently according to the nature of their unrepented sins and attachments. The fire they experience is not a punishment, but a mercy. It is the very love of God burning away the dross, purifying the gold, making the soul perfect and ready to enter the kingdom of heaven. Jesus Himself explained this to her, emphasizing that His mercy does not wish for souls to suffer, but justice requires this purification. He told her, "My mercy does not want this, but my justice demands it." It is a place where justice and mercy meet in a painful but ultimately beautiful act of divine cleansing. This vision alone is staggering. It transforms our understanding of purgatory from a mere waiting room into an active, divine hospital for the soul. It is a testament to God's unwillingness to let any soul be lost that is willing to be saved. A final act of refinement before eternal glory. So, if purgatory is a place of mercy, a final cleansing by God's love, why would souls who already dedicated their lives to prayer even need to go there? What small, overlooked attachments could possibly hold a faithful soul back from the immediate embrace of heaven? The first reason is one that affects almost all of us, and it is deceptively simple. It is the sin of idle words and the failure to maintain silence. How many times a day do we speak without thinking? A casual piece of gossip shared over coffee. A complaint about a coworker muttered under our breath. A sharp, critical comment made about a stranger's appearance. A joke made at someone else's expense. To us, these are just words, fleeting sounds that vanish into the air. But in the spiritual economy that Saint Faustina was shown, these are not weightless, they are anchors. Faustina's diary is a testament to the spiritual battle for silence. She was shown that every word we speak is recorded, not in a punitive way, but as a reflection of the state of our soul. Jesus told her that a talkative soul will never attain sanctity. He explained that a soul that does not keep silence, even if it is a very devout soul, is like a leaky vessel. It cannot hold on to the graces God pours into it. Think about that for a moment. All the prayers, all the rosaries, all the good intentions can be drained away by a careless tongue. The souls Faustina saw suffering for this were not evil people. They were often good, church-going individuals who simply never mastered their speech. They were attached to the world through their words. They used their voices not to praise God or edify their neighbor, but to engage in the pointless and often harmful chatter of the world. She saw souls shrouded in a heavy silence. But this was not the peaceful, contemplative silence of a monastery. It was an agonizing silence, a forced stillness, where they were made to feel the full weight and consequence of every idle word they ever spoke. They experienced the pain their gossip caused, the discouragement their complaints fostered, the division their criticisms created. Their purgation was to learn the lesson they failed to learn on earth, the sanctity of silence and the power of the word. They longed to speak, to praise God, to cry out for mercy, but they were held in this profound quietude until their souls were purified of the tendency to squander the gift of speech. It was a cleansing fire of regret for every word that did not give glory to God. This is a startling thought. Our daily conversations, the things we say without a second thought, could be what holds us back. It's a call to examine not just our prayers, but our conversations. Do our words build up or do they tear down? Do they reflect a soul at peace with God, or a soul still entangled in the dramas and judgments of the world? It is a profound and challenging revelation. The purification for words is one thing, but Saint Faustina was shown another, even more subtle reason that holds back devout souls. It is something that happens not in the open, but in the most secret and hidden corners of our hearts. It is a sin that can be committed in the middle of a prayer, even while kneeling in a church. What could this hidden fault be, so powerful that it can tarnish a life of prayer? The second truth St. Faustina uncovered concerns our inner disposition, and it is something we are all guilty of. It is the hidden sin of spiritual lukewarmness and a lack of fervor in our devotion. It is a chilling concept. To perform the acts of faith, to say the words, to kneel in the pews, but to have a heart that is far away. This is spiritual lukewarmness. It is not atheism or rebellion. It is a quiet, creeping indifference. It is the soul on spiritual autopilot, going through the motions of devotion without the fire of true love. Jesus spoke to Saint Faustina with great sorrow about these souls. He told her they were a source of profound pain to his heart. In her diary, entry 1702, Jesus says, "These souls wound my heart most painfully. My soul suffered the most dreadful loathing in the Garden of Olives because of lukewarm souls." He compares them to corpses so filled with corruption that they repel him. Think of the gravity of those words. Not sinners, not persecutors, but lukewarm souls caused him the most dreadful loathing. Why? Because they have been given the gift of faith. They stand at the very threshold of his love, and they feel nothing. They treat the incredible mysteries of the Eucharist, of confession, of prayer, as mere routine, a task to be checked off a list. The souls Faustina saw suffering for this were not in a fiery torment for great sins. Instead, they were in a state of profound spiritual cold and darkness. They were made to experience the true emptiness of their earthly devotions. Their prayers, which had been empty shells on earth, were now shown to them for what they were, hollow echoes in the vastness of eternity. Their purification was to be filled with an agonizing, all-consuming desire for the very fervor they rejected. They now burn with a love for God they never allowed themselves to feel in life. They experience an intense thirst for the living water they once sipped with indifference. This is their purgatory, to be suspended in a state of intense longing, learning the lesson of passionate love for God that they neglected to learn on earth. This revelation forces us to look inward, to ask ourselves uncomfortable questions. When I pray, am I truly present? When I receive the Eucharist, is my heart burning with love, or is my mind wandering to my plans for the rest of the day? Do I seek God with the passion of a lover, or do I treat him like a distant acquaintance I must visit out of duty? The souls in purgatory for this reason are a stark warning that God desires our hearts, not just our habits. He wants a relationship, not just a ritual. He is a consuming fire of love, and he invites us to burn with him. To be lukewarm is to stand before this divine fire and feel only a mild, comfortable warmth, refusing to be set ablaze. From careless words to a cold heart, the reasons are becoming more personal, more intimate. We are moving from the tongue to the soul itself. But what if the problem isn't just our inner state or our idle speech? What if it's about our actions, or more specifically, our inactions, towards those right in front of us? The third truth St. Faustina saw is a chilling reminder of our most overlooked Christian duty. It concerns the souls who prayed but failed to show mercy. The divine mercy message that Jesus entrusted to St. Faustina is a two-way street. It is not only about receiving the boundless ocean of God's mercy, but about becoming a channel for that mercy to flow through us and into the world. It is an active, demanding faith. In her diary, Jesus is explicitly clear about this. He gave her a direct command, a new contract for the soul. He told her, "I demand from you deeds of mercy, which are to arise out of love for me. You are to show mercy to your neighbors always and everywhere." He left no room for excuses. He didn't leave it as a vague concept. He gave her a practical threefold path: mercy by deed, mercy by word, and mercy by prayer. He insisted that even the strongest faith is useless without these works of mercy. The measure we use for others, he reminded her, will be the measure used for us. So, what of the souls who prayed fervently but failed this crucial test? The souls Faustina saw were not monstrously cruel. They were simply hard. They were the ones who held on to grudges for years, refusing to forgive a family member for an old wound. They were the ones who walked past the poor, justifying their inaction with silent judgment. They were the ones who offered prayers, but never a helping hand. Their purgatory was a perfect mirror. They were made to feel the coldness they had shown to others. They experienced the ache of being ignored, the sting of being judged, the heavy weight of an unforgiven trespass. They were immersed in an environment devoid of the very mercy they themselves had withheld, forced to learn empathy in the most painful way imaginable. They understood with a clarity that seared their souls every single missed opportunity, the kind word they could have spoken but didn't, the small act of charity they could have performed but chose not to, the forgiveness they could have granted but held back out of pride. Each failure to be merciful was a small stone they had placed in their own path to heaven. This forces us to ask, are our hearts merciful? How many times have we chosen justice over mercy in our own lives? When a friend betrays our trust, is our first instinct to pray for them or to cut them out of our lives? When we see someone fail, do we offer a hand or do we secretly think they deserved it? These souls prayed for their own salvation, but their prayers were trapped within the confines of their own selfish needs. They failed to understand the fundamental truth of the gospel, that we cannot expect to receive a mercy that we are unwilling to give. Their piety became a beautiful but empty house. We've seen how our words, our hearts, and our actions towards others can create a debt that must be paid. But St. Faustina's visions go deeper still. She saw souls held back not by their sins against others, but by their love for things, innocent things, things of this world that wrapped around their souls like invisible chains. What are these attachments that can tether even a praying soul to purgatory? The fourth reason is both surprising and deeply convicting. It is the subtle sin of attachment to the world. When we think of worldly attachments, our minds often jump to extreme examples: greed for vast fortunes, a lust for power, or an obsession with fame. But the attachments St. Faustina witnessed were far more subtle, far more common, and therefore far more dangerous. They are the little comforts, the small vanities, and the earthly securities that we cling to, often without even realizing it. It could be an excessive pride in one's home, spending more time and energy on its decoration and upkeep than on the state of one's soul. It could be an attachment to a certain lifestyle, the fear of losing social status, or the comfort of a particular routine. It could even be an inordinate attachment to one's own opinions, a spiritual pride that refuses to be corrected or to see another point of view. These are not sins in themselves. It is not wrong to have a nice home, to enjoy a comfortable life, or to have strong convictions. The problem arises when these things take root in our hearts, when our peace and happiness depend on them, when the thought of losing them causes us more anxiety than the thought of offending God. The souls Faustina saw suffering for this were in a state of spiritual dislocation. On earth, their hearts were divided. They gave a part to God, but kept a part for the world. In purgatory, they were made to feel this division with agonizing intensity. They felt the pull of heaven, the incredible magnetism of God's love, but they were simultaneously held back by the weight of their earthly affections. Imagine trying to swim upwards towards a brilliant light, but with invisible weights tied to your ankles. Every time you get close, the weights pull you back down. That was their torment, a constant, frustrating struggle against the ghosts of their own misplaced loves. Their purification was a process of letting go, a slow, painful detachment from every last worldly thing that had claimed a piece of their heart. They had to learn, through intense longing and separation, that God alone is the source of all joy, all security, and all peace. They had to come to a place where they could honestly say, "You are all I want," and truly mean it, without any reservations or attachments to the things of earth. This is a profound spiritual checkup for all of us. What are my attachments? What am I afraid to lose?
If God asked me to give up my career, my home, my reputation, my comfort, could I do it with a free and willing heart? Or would I resist, bargain, and cling to my earthly treasures? These souls were not bad people. They were simply people who tried to serve two masters. They prayed, but they also worried excessively about their finances. They went to church, but they also found their deepest joy in worldly praise and recognition. They loved God, but they also loved the world. And in the final accounting, their hearts were not pure enough to enter the undiluted presence of God. We have now explored 4 powerful reasons: idle words, a lukewarm heart, a lack of mercy, and attachment to the world. Each one is a subtle trap for the faithful soul. But the 5th and final reason St. Faustina was shown is perhaps the most tragic of all. It involves not a failure of action or affection, but a failure of trust. A failure that strikes at the very heart of her message. What is this final barrier that can keep even a devout soul from heaven? It is the failure to fully trust in God's divine mercy. This final point is the cornerstone of St. Faustina's entire mission, the very essence of the message Jesus gave to the world through her, the message of divine mercy. It is a message of radical, unconditional trust in the love and forgiveness of God.
Jesus told her repeatedly, "The greater the sinner, the greater the right he has to my mercy." He pleaded with souls to come to him no matter how great their sins. He described his heart as a living fountain of mercy from which all souls can draw life. The only vessel they need to bring to this fountain, he said, is trust. Not perfection, not a flawless record, just trust. And yet, Faustina saw souls in purgatory who had failed this one crucial test. These were often scrupulous souls. They were meticulous in their observance of the law, diligent in their prayers, and quick to confess their sins. But deep down, they did not truly believe in the boundless nature of God's forgiveness. They lived in a state of spiritual anxiety. They were constantly afraid of offending God, not out of a pure love for Him, but out of a paralyzing fear of punishment. They saw God more as a strict judge than as a loving Father. When they sinned, they would fall into despair, doubting that they could ever truly be forgiven. They relied more on their own efforts at piety than on the saving grace of Jesus Christ. Their prayers were often a form of bargaining, an attempt to earn salvation rather than receive it as a free gift. They kept a meticulous ledger of their good deeds and their failings, always feeling that they were falling short, that they could never be good enough. They honored God with their lips, but their hearts were full of fear and doubt. In purgatory, their torment was a direct consequence of this lack of trust. They were confronted with the overwhelming, infinite ocean of God's mercy, a love so vast and unconditional that it was almost painful for them to behold. They saw with agonizing clarity how they had belittled this incredible gift with their doubts and fears. They experienced a profound shame, not for their sins, for those had been forgiven, but for their failure to trust in the one who had already paid the price for them. Their purification was to learn to float in this ocean of mercy, to finally let go of their self-reliance and surrender completely to the love of God. They had to learn in purgatory the lesson of childlike trust they failed to master on earth. This is perhaps the most subtle and challenging lesson of all. It asks us to examine the very foundation of our faith. Do we truly believe that God's mercy is bigger than our sin? When we fall, do we run back to the Father with confidence like the prodigal son, or do we hide in shame, trying to fix ourselves before we dare to approach Him? Do we see our spiritual life as a desperate climb up a treacherous mountain, or as a loving surrender into the arms of a Father who is already running to meet us? These souls remind us that the goal is not to become perfect on our own, but to become perfectly trusting in the one who can make us perfect.
5 reasons, 5 spiritual truths revealed through a humble nun, idle words that anchor the soul, a lukewarm heart that repels the fire of God's love, a failure to show mercy that closes the door to receiving it, attachments to the world that chain us to a passing reality, and a failure to trust in the infinite ocean of divine mercy. These are not just warnings for some distant afterlife. They are urgent calls to action, here and now. They are a roadmap given to us by heaven, showing us the obstacles on our own path. So what do we do with this knowledge? How do we apply these startling revelations to our daily lives so that we may, by God's grace, bypass this painful purification? The answer lies in the very heart of the Divine Mercy devotion. The revelations given to Saint Faustina are not meant to frighten us into submission. They are a profound act of mercy in themselves. God, in His infinite love, pulled back the veil, not to scare us with the fires of justice, but to invite us into a deeper relationship with His mercy. He showed us the pitfalls so that we could avoid them. Each of the 5 reasons we've explored has a corresponding remedy, a spiritual antidote found within the Divine Mercy message. For the sin of idle words, we are called to practice contemplative silence and to use our speech for praise and edification. The Divine Mercy Chaplet itself is a perfect example, a structured prayer that sanctifies our words.
For the sin of lukewarmness, Jesus gave us the image of divine mercy, with the 2 rays representing the blood and water that gushed forth from His heart. He asked us to venerate this image, to gaze upon His love, so that our cold hearts might be set ablaze by the fire of His sacred heart. For the failure to be merciful, He instituted the Feast of Mercy and gave us the corporal and spiritual works of mercy as a clear path to follow. He doesn't just ask for our pity, He demands our action, transforming our faith from a passive belief into a living, breathing force for good in the world. For our attachment to the world, the message calls us to a radical trust in God's providence, to let go of our securities and find our true security in Him alone, to remember that we are pilgrims on this earth, and our true home, our true treasure, lies in the world to come. And finally, for the tragic failure to trust, the entire devotion is the cure. Every prayer, every image, every promise is designed to break down our walls of fear and doubt, to convince our stubborn hearts that His mercy is real, it is infinite, and it is for us. The simple prayer, "Jesus, I trust in you," is the key that unlocks this entire treasury of grace. The souls in purgatory are not a lost cause. They are a sign of hope. They are souls so precious to God that He will not allow them into His presence until they are perfectly beautiful, radiant, and free. Our prayers can help them on their journey. The Divine Mercy Chaplet, offered for the dying and for the souls in purgatory, is a powerful tool given to us for this very purpose. But their experience is also our classroom. It is our chance to learn now, while we still have time, the lessons they are learning in pain. Turning insights into action. Your practical guide in the next 24 hours. 1. Practice conscious silence. Set aside 3 specific moments in your day. It could be when you wake up, during lunch, and before bed, to practice 5 minutes of absolute silence. During this time, resist the urge to pick up your phone, turn on the TV, or listen to music. Just sit and offer this silence to God. Before speaking, especially in casual conversation, pause for 1 second and ask yourself, will this word glorify God or edify my neighbor? 2. Immediate act of mercy. Perform a concrete and anonymous act of mercy. It could be something simple. Leave a larger tip for a waiter with a thank you note. Buy a coffee for the person behind you in line, or send a message of encouragement to someone you know is going through a difficult time without expecting a reply. The focus is to act out of love for God, not for recognition. In the next 7 days, 1. Divine Trust Journal. Start a small journal.
Every day for a week, write down one thing that causes you anxiety or fear. It could be about finances, health, or a relationship. Below that concern, write the words, "Jesus, I surrender this to you. I trust in your divine mercy." Spend a moment reflecting on what it truly means to surrender this burden. 2. The 3 p.m. prayer, hour of mercy. Commit to pausing every day at 3 p.m., the hour of Jesus' death. Even if it's just for 1 minute at work or at home. Make the sign of the cross and pray the short prayer Jesus taught St. Faustina. O blood and water, which gushed forth from the heart of Jesus as a fount of mercy for us, I trust in you. This will daily reconnect you to the moment of greatest mercy. 3. 7 days of words of mercy. Make a conscious effort every day to use your words to show mercy. Sincerely praise someone. Defend someone who is being gossiped about. Call a relative you haven't spoken to in a long time just to say you were thinking of them. Observe how the conscious use of your words changes your interactions. In the next 30 days, 1. The Forgiveness Challenge. Identify a person in your life who has hurt you and against whom you still hold resentment. You don't need to speak to them yet. For 30 days, include this person in your daily prayers, asking God to bless them. Pray the chaplet of divine mercy specifically for their soul. The goal is for God's mercy to soften your heart, preparing you for genuine forgiveness, freeing both you and the other person.
2. Choose an area of your life where you have an attachment, clothes, books, electronics, leisure time, and make a small sacrifice. Donate items you keep just in case. Exchange an hour of entertainment for an hour of volunteering or family prayer. The goal is to deliberately weaken the chains that bind us to the things of the world, however small. 3. Divine Mercy Novena. Commit to praying the Divine Mercy Novena, which lasts 9 days. You can start at any time. On each day of the novena, you pray for a different group of souls, which shifts your focus from yourself and transforms you into a true apostle of mercy, exactly as Jesus requested. This is a powerful practice to rekindle fervor in a soul that has become lukewarm. Don't wait for purgatory to learn the lessons of heaven. The time to become a saint is now. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next revelations. Comment on what you thought of this video and what city you are watching us from. Share with someone who needs to hear this message.